Good evening, one and all, and welcome back to Talking Leeds Extra. Just a little bit more Talking Leeds in your life. Don't we all need that every once in a while? First of all, just to give a bit of a caveat to this show, Aaron is unavailable for this one for a very good reason. The birth of his daughter, Olive, literally this afternoon. All doing well, born very lovely and very healthy, more importantly. So obviously, he is otherwise engaged. So he's asked me to come on and just talk a little bit about Leeds' ninth signing of the summer window, Noah Okafor, who completed a £17 million move from AC Milan earlier today. It is one that we knew about already. It was reported by Romano just a few days ago. So really, it was just a case of getting it over the line and getting the announcement over the line, which happened just this morning. Now, as well, just to apologise in advance for any technical errors. I'm not sure how this is coming across on the other end. I'm currently in the process of moving house, and I've made a bit of a mix-up with the Wi-Fi. It's now disconnected from this house, and it can't be reconnected at the other house. So I'm currently on some public EE Wi-Fi, so hopefully everything will go as planned, and it won't just sound like I'm recording this on a potato on the other end. So we'll see how it goes. Shouldn't be too long anyway. So Leeds United complete the signing of Noah Okafor. As I say, 9 signings now through the door, and another attacking option to bolster the options that we've already got. Now, Okafor is a bit of a weird one for me. It's kind of follows a bit of a theme with the other signings that we've made already this window. Not necessarily ones that really excite you. Definitely a name that I think I'd heard of more than other players that we've signed. A guy who has sort of burst onto the scene a little bit, as a lot of players do at RB Salzburg. Not exactly hard to do that nowadays, now really, is it? But he burst onto the scene sort of 3 or 4 years ago, when they were in the Champions League, getting quite a few goals and getting sort of some keen eyes, keen observers from across Europe, and eventually got his big move to AC Milan in 2023. And it's not quite gone to plan for the Swissman. He got 6 goals and 3 assists in his first season there, so respectable, not too bad. That's across all competitions. And then a goal and 2 assists last season, so really played a bit part role last season, and even went out on loan to Napoli in January. Not entirely sure that he qualified for a Serie A winners' medal last season, as Napoli did get their second title in 3 years, but he made, I think, 4 appearances off the bench. So, not a guy who's played a great deal of football, but a bit like with Lucas Mecha, a bit like it feels like a bit like Sean Longstaff as well, and perhaps a bit like others like Lucas Perry, and a couple of others that we've signed. Specifically Dominic Calvert-Lewin, to add into the profile of players that we're looking for. We are really investing in these players, in these sort of low risk, low stakes signings for not a great deal of money. £17 million isn't nothing, but it's not an astronomical figure for the kind of player that Noah Okafor, I think, can be. And certainly the player that people thought he would be when he was at RB Salzburg. But players who sort of seem like they're at a bit of a crossroads in their career, and perhaps they thought they'd be a bit further on by now, and are kind of seeing Leeds as a bit of a stepping stone to potentially reignite their career, obviously with Leeds, but also to potentially then go on elsewhere. A bit like in the Rafinha mold, for example, coming in and sort of putting himself in the shop window, and then obviously he then went on to Barcelona, became obviously one of the best players in the world, if not the best in the world right now. But yeah, real grafters. So Jay's coming with the first comment, and just by the way, I am doing the stream by myself, so any comments you can put in to have a bit of a discussion is great. Reckon Noah can put in the shift for Leeds. Let's hope he gets a chance to prove himself. Absolutely spot on, Jay. As I say, he looks like a guy who he hasn't quibbled over it. I think that's something that's really sort of frustrated me, or has frustrated us in the last few years, getting players of his profile in who are at that sort of mid-tier of European club and think they can get a better move than Leeds. I think they can go to a Barcelona or Real Madrid, or maybe somewhere a bit higher, maybe a bit, in Europe, for example. Um, I take Igor Paixão, for example. I really thought, I think that he thought Leeds was beneath him, and he wanted to go to Marseille to play European football, which, nothing against him, but anyway, by the by, a real grafter who can come in and put a shift in. The bid was put in quickly, the move progressed quickly. There was no stalling on personal terms or anything like that, and that's what I like about this. Is that it clearly shows. Obviously, we don't know what else has gone on behind the scenes. That he really wants to be here and wants to try and prove himself. So a little bit more to sort of dive into kind of the statistics side of things. Now, I usually don't really look at this kind of thing, but I do think this is an interesting point to make. So if you go on FBref, which is a really good site to use to actually look at sort of the underlying numbers, and apologies for the Jesse Marsh reference there, but that is really what you need to look at, I think, with players like this. Players like Anton Stack, for example, really, really good underlying numbers in terms of what he can do in midfield. But just kind of not really a flashy player, and that's why he was so cheap. But we've already seen from the friendlies and from the game against Everton that he is much better than his profile and his price tag would suggest. So in the past year, and bearing in mind he's not played a great deal of football, his stats are pretty good. So he's in the 98th percentile for successful take-ons, and 94th percentile for progressive carries, and 87th percentile for progressive passes. So what we're looking at here is a very, very direct player, very, very direct indeed. And just to give you an idea of kind of who to maybe compare it to in recent memory. So 98th, 94th, and 87th percentiles for Okafor. Manuel Sol And there we go. There's our first technical issue of the evening. Apologies for that. As I say, my public Wi-Fi is not the best. It was held out for nearly 10 minutes, though, which is better than I thought it would be. But I'm not sure sort of where to get off, sort of start off from. But essentially, what we're looking at is quite a similar player to Manuel Solomon in that, really direct player who wants to carry the ball, not really afraid to come in, cut off the wing and take on players and try and get a cross in, try and get a shot in. He's also got some quite decent statistics in terms of shots on target, things like that. I won't bore you too much with those, but they look pretty okay. Mainly operates off the wing, but can operate as a centre forward as well. So whether he's going to come in and come straight in on the wing, because I certainly think one of our weak points, and there weren't many on Monday night, was the wing play. And Nonto and James didn't get much change out of what was quite a stingy defence. To be fair, they were two non-fullbacks playing in the right and left back positions, but O'Brien, big physical player, Joe Garner, again a physical nasty player, and physically fit young lads who could keep up with the speed, and just didn't get much change out of them. That will change as the season goes on, against other teams that play with us. I would say more traditional fullbacks, maybe playing a bit higher up. But certainly it looked like we needed to to put something a bit different on, to sort of try and get round the side and get a cross into the middle or a cutback, and obviously looking to the bench, we didn't really have anything there. You know, Ramazani very similar to Nonto in terms of style of play. Aronson, you know, he wasn't the answer. To be fair, Jack Harrison, you know, did I think you know, look okay when he came on. That's a separate issue, by the way. We're not going to be discussing that now, but I think Okafor can really be really important for us if he's ready to come in and ready to put a shift in. Then he can really bolster the line for us. Now, an interesting thing to sort of move on from that with is that Daniel Farke has today said in his presser that he won't rule out more signings, potentially another two in the forward line, which is amazing, really, considering how many we've already made. And obviously, I'm not talking about the quality, but the quantity. You know, we are already sitting now with, if we're discounting Bamford as part of the squad, you know, we're looking at three strikers who could potentially be the first team number nines. Obviously, Joel Perreault was always going to start that first game, having been the championship number nine. Lucas Mecha comes on, gets the winning goal. He's now in contention. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be available for the next game. So, you know, he's going to have a say now in that. You know, I think Okafor will probably be maybe filling in every now and then, maybe for a different game plan, maybe sort of later in games and off the bench as well. But we are still interested in quite a few strikers. There is one from Stuttgart who I think I'm going to butcher his name, Ermedin Demirovic, something like that. And really good goal scoring record in Germany. I think 15 goals last season in the Bundesliga, notoriously a hard league to score a lot of goals in, unless you play for Bayern Munich. So, you know, a good record there. But, you know, I'm not sure sort of where we'd be going if we got in potentially what would be a fourth striker, unless we're going to be sort of using Mecha in a very sort of a Ruter role, sort of filling in a bit of a cam, bit of a 10, bit of a number 9 position, maybe off the wing. He kind of strikes me as a utility player. So it really looks like we are going for that kind of throw as many pieces of shit at the wall and see what sticks kind of approach. I mean, if we definitely did get in another striker, that would be great, because I still, despite signing two already, don't think we've got that key number 9 who can come in and get us that, you know, 14, 15 goals, maybe not even that to keep us up. So perhaps we're going to go that way, and perhaps we're going to go for more of like a utility forward again, like a Bilal El Khanous, or, you know, although that looks like he's going elsewhere, something like that. So I don't think we're done for the transfer window now, although, you know, this signing of Okafor definitely puts us a big step towards doing that and finishing that off. And having that all there. So we've just got to see what happens. For me, as I say, overall, Noah Okafor, fantastic addition. Probably I would say definitely the most established offensive player we've signed so far this summer, certainly, and can be a really good player. And if he gets anywhere near his potential level, or the level that he reached when he was at Salzburg a few years ago, then for £17 million, he could be an absolute steal. So thank you all for tuning in. I know it was a bit late notice, but this will be going out on the pods as well. So whether you've been the 5 who watched it live, or whether you're listening to it a bit later on, we will obviously be back with the more traditional show and the match reaction after Arsenal on Saturday evening. So thank you for sticking by with my dodgy connection and my almost lost voice as well. And I will see you again soon. Bye for now.